You know, it's been difficult to ignore lately that Gavin Newsom is running for president in 2028. He's got a podcast where he talks to conservatives. He's been making half-hearted attempts to moderate some of his more insane positions. He's also one of the few Democrats who's capable of speaking coherently in public, which immediately vaults him to the status of a presidential contender. Even if he let entire neighborhoods in Los Angeles burn to the ground, it's still easy to tell that he's a frontrunner. That's how thin the bench is. But while the bench may be thin, it's not entirely empty, as it turns out. Beginning on Monday night, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey decided to announce in his own very theatrical and flamboyant way that he plans to run for president in 2028. But unlike Newsom, Cory Booker didn't make this de facto announcement with a podcast. Instead, he decided to turn the Senate floor into his own podcast by launching into a filibuster. Now, as you probably know, the filibuster is a tactic that involves speaking for a very long time in order to delay or prevent some kind of action in the Senate. A decade ago, Rand Paul spoke for 13 hours to block a vote on CIA Director John Brennan. Huey Long filibustered for 15 hours to protest legislation from the New Deal. Read a bunch of plays by Shakespeare as well as oyster recipes to pass the time. Back in the 50s, Strom Thurmond filibustered for 24 hours in an attempt to block the Civil Rights Act. In all of these cases, there is a point to the filibuster. There's an objective. At no point in the history of this country has anyone imagined that a senator would engage in a filibuster for no reason at all. But that's exactly what Cory Booker just did. Beginning on Monday night around 7 p.m., Booker announced that he intended to disrupt the business of the Senate without explaining why. He just rattled off a bunch of complaints, none of which had anything to do with any legislation before the Senate. There was no clear message or theme to any of it. So here's just a few clips from his filibuster extending from 7 p.m. to around 4 a.m. on Tuesday. Listen.
I rise with the intention of disrupting the normal business of the United States Senate for as long as I am physically able. I rise tonight because I believe sincerely that our country is in crisis. We are not solving the deficit in what they're proposing here. They're cutting and cutting and cutting things that make no sense to cut. And they're doing it for tax breaks which disproportionately go to the wealthiest. Placing tariffs on our biggest trade partners is beyond unfair. This drives the cost of goods up, and the consumer is the one who ends up paying the increase. Even with universities got too woke and had too excesses, the antidote to that isn't to try to shut down the thought of the left. It's to try to make a fair, more competitive marketplace for ideas from all around the political spectrum.
Now, one of the problems here is that just a few years ago, Cory Booker wrote on Twitter, quote, "The filibuster has been abused to stop reform supported by the vast majority of Americans, from background checks to protecting the right to vote. We must stop this abuse of power." That was back when Democrats had control of the Senate. They wanted to pass a federal law requiring that mail-in ballots become a permanent nationwide feature of our elections. In other words, they wanted to make voter fraud easier, and the filibuster stood in their way. But now the filibuster is good again. And we're not just talking about a procedural filibuster here. This is the real deal, the talk until you can't kind of filibuster. Only there's no point to this one. He's not blocking a law on mail-in ballots or anything else. There's no law or anything he's trying to block. He's just talking. I'm juggling life as a husband, father, and show host. Trust me, things are generally chaotic around here. Can you imagine trying to somehow eat 31 different fruits and vegetables every single day? It sounds absolutely miserable, not to mention the hours it would take. And to be honest, sometimes I just want to roll through a drive-thru and order something that would make a doctor quietly weep. But that's where Balance of Nature Fruits and Veggies comes in. It's literally the easiest way to get all those fruits and vegetables that you should be eating, 31 whole ingredients to be exact, into your diet. Balance of Nature takes real fruits and vegetables, freeze-dries them, which preserve all the good stuff, grinds them into powder, and stuffs them into convenient capsules. Just take them daily, and your body handles the rest. No chopping, no prep. None of that at all. Go to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Walsh for 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. Plus, get a free bottle of fiber and spice. That's balanceofnature.com, promo code Walsh. So there's not a whole lot to be gained from watching this particular filibuster, even if for some reason you're interested in seeing a random politician speak for 24 hours so that you can observe his physical and mental decline in service of some kind of morbid fascination or whatever. Then you probably still won't be satisfied with this footage. That's because Booker, as we all know, is the classic theater kid turned politician. His goal is to seek the spotlight, which means that any anguish he demonstrates is probably fake. He did the same thing during the Kavanaugh hearings when he supposedly risked expulsion from the Senate with his little Spartacus moment. Nothing about him is genuine. But just for the record, here's how Cory Booker was acting early Tuesday afternoon, around 17 hours into the filibuster. He's either losing it a little bit or he's doing his best impression of the drifter at your local gas station. You decide.
To call to the conscience of this nation, to say, I will not stand for another American to lose their health care for a billionaire. I will not stand for another veteran who's dedicated to stopping the suicide of other veterans to lose their job. I won't stand for the air quality in my community to be made worse because they're letting polluters pollute more. I won't stand for the collective assaults on the Constitution by a man who even the highest judge in our land, a Republican-appointed judge, said stop threatening and bullying other branches of government. When is it going to be enough? My voice is inadequate. My efforts today are inadequate to stop what they're trying to do. But we, the people, are powerful. We are strong. We have changed history. We have bent the arc of the moral universe. And now is that moral moment again. It's the moral moment again. God bless America. We need you now. God bless America. If you love her, but I'm begging people, don't let this be another normal day in America. Please, God, don't let them take Medicaid away.
Well, mission accomplished there. It's definitely not a normal day in America. The question is, why isn't it a normal day? What exactly is Cory Booker doing? Why is he doing it? What is he trying to achieve? I went looking through the accounts of various Democrats and Democrat-aligned politicians, and I still have no idea how to answer this question. For example, DNC Vice Chair David Hogg wrote, quote, Cory Booker is a legend. The official account of the Democratic Party posted, quote, thank you, Senator Booker, for standing up for the American people. Meanwhile, Senator Lisa Murkowski wrote, quote, whether you agree with him or not, the past 24 plus hours was what most people think a filibuster actually looks like. Congratulations to Senator Booker for his historic feat while staying on his feet. Now, at no point do any of these people tell us what he's filibustering or why he's doing it. Even Booker himself refused to explain what exactly is going on here, what he hoped to achieve. Booker wrote, quote, I may be tired and a little hoarse, but as I said again and again on the Senate floor, this is a moment where we cannot afford to be silent. We must speak up. What's most clear to me tonight is that this is just the beginning, that Americans across this country, no matter their title or party, are ready to be heard. I believe that history will show we rose to meet at this moment. It will show what we did not let the chaos and division go unanswered. It will show that when our president chose to spread lies and sow fear, we chose to come together, to work together, and to rise together. Close quote. Okay, but still not answering the question. You know, if you're filibustering something. So you're filibustering what? On the Senate floor, the Democrats' leader, Chuck Schumer, led a round of applause for Booker. He said everybody was proud of him, but again, he didn't explain why. Watch.
Would the senator yield for a question?
Chuck Schumer, it's the only time in my life I can tell you no.
I just want to tell you a question. Do you know you have just broken the record? Do you know how proud this caucus is of you? Do you know how proud America is of you?
Now, just to add to the surreal humor of the situation, while the applause was ringing out in the Senate to recognize Cory Booker's filibuster of absolutely nothing, one of Booker's staffers was being arrested because of a crime that Booker himself facilitated. Apparently, the staffer is one of Booker's bodyguards, and as Fox News reports, quote, a congressional staffer for Senator Booker was arrested for carrying a pistol without a license after being escorted into the U.S. Capitol by a member of Congress and allowed to bypass security by the New Jersey Democrat himself. Booker led the aid around the U.S. Capitol Police security checkpoint on Monday night, later resulting in the arrest. Capitol police officers are required to check aides and others at checkpoints, regardless if they're with a member of Congress or not, close quote. So, why did Booker sneak this guy in, and why was his staffer slinking around the Capitol building with a gun while he wasted everybody's time? Nobody knows. At the moment, all we know is that none of this seemed to bother Democrats in the Senate. For once, they didn't pretend to care about gun crime. Instead, as Booker spoke for 25 hours and 5 minutes, they assisted his filibuster by asking him fake questions to pad the time. And then when Booker finally gave up, they all applauded. Watch.
Let's get back to the ideals that others are threatening. Let's get back to our founding documents, that those imperfect geniuses had some very special words at the end of the Declaration of Independence. It was one of the greatest in all of humanity declarations of interdependence. when our founders said we must mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. We need that now from all Americans. This is a moral moment. It's not left or right, it's right or wrong. Let's get in good trouble. My friend, Madam President, I yield the floor.
Theatrical, performative as always from Cory Booker. He never disappoints in that regard. You always get a performance out of this guy. And to recap, so far this week, Cory Booker rambled for more than 24 hours about nothing in particular. He didn't accomplish anything in that period except for helping a staffer commit a crime. And now after these monumental achievements, all of Cory Booker's colleagues are celebrating him as a hero. You will not find a better encapsulation of the modern Democrat Party than this. I mean, it's perfect right down to the fact that the stunt took place on April Fool's Day. Democrats in Congress have a national approval rating of around 20%, and they're spending their time talking about nothing for no reason at all while they're aiding and abetting criminal activity. The good news for Democrats is that Cory Booker has finally stopped talking. The bad news for them is that everyone has a chance to listen to what he had to say, or more accurately, what he didn't have to say. Democrats have no ideas, no substance, no coherence. They can only utter complete nonsense for the sake of it, as Cory Booker has so clearly demonstrated for the entire world. And that is why Cory Booker and the leadership of the Democrat Party that has embraced his degrading and pointless filibuster are today canceled. Thanks for checking out this video. If you'd like to listen to my full podcast on the go, you can check out The Matt Walsh Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.